Big news in the world of tennis. I did not think I was going to be talking about the Jannik Sinner doping case today. I thought it wasn't going to be until April until we started discussing this again. But the World Anti-Doping Agency WADA confirms that it has entered into a case resolution agreement in the case of Italian tennis player Jannik Sinner, with the player accepting a 3-month period of ineligibility for an anti-doping rule violation that led him testing positive for clostebol, a prohibited substance, in March 2024. In September, WADA lodged an appeal to the Court of Arbitration CAS in the case of Mr. Sinner, who had been found by an independent tribunal to bear no fault or negligence. Notwithstanding this appeal, the circumstances surrounding this specific case meant that in order to ensure a fair and appropriate outcome, WADA was prepared to enter into a settlement agreement in accordance with Article 10.8.2 of the World Anti-Doping Code. If you go on any social media, you're going to see that this has caused quite a stir. Even players are reacting. Of course, we all knew that Nick Kyrgios was going to react to this and not be in Sinner's favor. And surprisingly, Stan Wawrinka said that we don't have a clean sport anymore. There were also other players who were criticizing the outcome of this case. And of course, all the Jannik Sinner haters are spreading misinformation as usual and calling Jannik a doper and a disgrace for the sport of tennis. And to all the haters, I want you to listen to the following statement from WADA. WADA accepts the athlete's explanation for the cause of the violation outlined in the first instance decision. WADA accepts that Mr. Sinner did not intend to cheat and that his exposure to clostebol did not provide any performance-enhancing benefit and took place without his knowledge as the result of negligence of members of his entourage. However, under the code and by virtue of CAS precedent, any athlete bears responsibility for the entourage negligence. Based on the unique set of facts of this case, a 3-month suspension is deemed to be an appropriate outcome. So here's my opinion on the case. Jannik Sinner is not a doper. The amount of substance that was in his system couldn't have possibly had any benefit for Sinner on the tennis court. So Jannik Sinner is not a doper, but also Jannik Sinner is completely innocent. It was not his fault. It was the recklessness of his team that led to the positive tests. To all the people that keep talking about preferential treatment, I want to read you a line from the WADA article. Based on the unique set of facts of this case, a 3-month suspension is deemed to be an appropriate outcome. And the magic words are unique case. Every case is different. And of course, when the set of circumstances are different, we're going to have different outcomes. So I'm okay with the 3-month ban. I think a 1 or 2 year ban for this unique case would have been too harsh of a penalty for Sinner, because again, he didn't get any performance enhancements from having clostebol in the system, and it was also not his fault. So for me, 3 months seems to be an appropriate length of time. Now, here comes the part that's not a good look. The timing of the ban is a tad too convenient for me, because as I said in the beginning, I thought that we were going to get a result in April, but we didn't. We have a resolution now, right after the Australian Open, and Sinner will return to tour right before the Rome tournament, and that, in my opinion, is not a good look. It seems a little bit too convenient. And the one thing that I was stressing in all the videos I made about the Sinner case was the fact that there was no preferential treatment given to Sinner based on his status as the best player in the world. There were other cases that had similar outcomes to the Sinner case. However, when it comes to the timing of the ban, this to me seems like Sinner was indeed getting some preferential treatment. See, I would have preferred if Sinner got banned right after testing positive in Miami and serve out his suspension, miss a ton of tournaments, and then got back on tour. We didn't get that. Sinner was allowed to compete in 2024. And now the ban is set in place conveniently between the Australian Open and the French Open. Of course, missing Indian Wells in Miami is brutal, but it would be far worse if Sinner missed the Australian Open, for example, or if he missed the French Open and Wimbledon, or even the US Open. So if you want to take anything out of this, it is unfortunate that the ban is so conveniently placed and that he's going to make a return right before one of the most important tournaments for Sinner, which is the Rome Masters on clay. That is the only thing I have a problem with. I wish they would have kept the original date for the hearings in April and they would have given him the ban and he would have missed the French Open and Wimbledon. That would have been bad for tennis, not the number one player missing these important tournaments. But I think the criticism would have been far less on social media. On a positive note, now this drama is slowly coming to an end. Of course, people are going to continue to talk about it. People are going to talk about it a lot when Sinner returns in Rome. But I do think that over time, Sinner will leave this behind him. He is a class act. He has handled himself so well throughout this difficult phase of his career. In a statement released by his lawyers, Sinner said, "This case has been hanging over me for nearly a year and the process still had a long time to run, with a decision maybe only at the end of the year. I've always accepted that I am responsible for my team and I realize WADA's strict rules are an important protection for the sport I love. On that basis, I have accepted WADA's offer to resolve these proceedings on the basis of a 3-month sanction." My wish is that Sinner will not get the label of a doper for the rest of his career. I'm going to do my best when drama erupts on social media to defend Sinner because he is 100% innocent and he is not a doper. He didn't gain any benefit from having close the ball in his system. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. It is a blessing to have Sinner and Alcaraz at the top of the game. Tennis is in great hands. Who would have thought we would have two players that quite frankly have the caliber that's very close, if not the same, as the big three. And once Sinner gets back on tour for the tournament in Rome, there's going to be a lot of talk, but then hopefully, slowly but surely, we're going to talk less about this doping case and more about Sinner's tennis game.